welcome to the first lecture of module 4, which is on absorption. In earlier modules, in module 2, which we have discussed the mass transfer coefficient concepts, and where we have discussed the interphase mass transfer among the phases and their equilibrium relationship between the phases for transfer of gaseous components into the liquids. In module 3, we have discussed the equipment which is generally used for gas liquid operations. So, here today we will discuss the absorption of gases into the liquids. When a gas mixture is contacted into a liquid for the purpose to preferentially dissolve one component of the gas mixture is known as absorption. For example, if we take byproduct gases in coke ovens, where ammonia is removed with water and then oil is used to separate benzene and toluene vapor. So, another example is like we remove hydrogen sulfide from natural gas. H2S, which is very much objectionable from natural gas, by using alkaline solution. So, as we said in the second example, if we absorb hydrogen sulfide in alkaline solutions, the solvent reacts with the solute hydrogen sulfide. So, chemical reactions takes place. Alkaline solution, for example, methanolamine or ethylamine or ethanolamine. These are the basic compounds we can use as alkaline solvent, and hydrogen sulfide reacts. So, due to these chemical reactions, the rate of absorption enhanced, and the process is known as chemical absorption. which is distinguished from the physical absorptions. and in many situations it may happen that the solvent which we use, we need to regenerate the solvent for reuse, and we may need the absorbed solute for further use. So, in that case the reaction of the solute with the solvent is reversible in nature, which is preferred. So, a rate of dissolution of gaseous component into the liquid depends on the departure from equilibrium. So, it is necessary to discuss the equilibrium characteristics and the equilibrium solubility of the gaseous components into the liquid. So, need for discussion of equilibrium characteristics and equilibrium solubility. So, let us consider two component system. That means, we will take a single gaseous component in contact with the liquid and the resulting concentration of dissolved solute is the solubility of gas. At particular temperature and pressure. So, suppose at a fixed temperature, if we look into this diagram, at fixed temperature, the solubility concentration increases with increasing partial pressure, as we can see from the figures A, B and C. So, these figures yield different gases have different solubility into the liquid. When the solubility of a particular component or the partial pressure of a particular component at a certain mole fractions in the liquid is low, or the partial pressure is high at a lower mole fraction, then we say that the gas is less soluble. Like if we see in case of B, the solubility of B is low compared to solubility of C at a particular partial pressure in the gas phase is low in case of C compared to B. That means the component C is more soluble in the liquid compared to solute B. Now, all these are the relative matters. So, this solubility are relative. That means, if we apply the higher pressure and depending on our requirement, we will be able to solubilize the gaseous component into the liquid. So, all these are relative matters, but relative to different gases, we can say that some gases are relatively insoluble compared to other gases. The solubility of the gases is influenced by temperature. And it is follows Van 't Hoff's law of mobile equilibrium. That means, if the temperature of a system is increased, the changes will occur which will absorb heat. In most of the cases, when gas is dissolved into the liquid, then heat is evolved. That means, if we increase the temperature, which will decrease the solubility of the gaseous component. So, increase the temperature, decrease the solubility of the gas. Now, if we consider multi-component system, so if we take a mixture of gaseous component and brought into contact with the liquid, then under certain conditions, equilibrium solubility of each gas will be independent of each other. provided the equilibrium is described in terms of partial pressure in the gas mixture. If all components but one of the components are substantially insoluble, in that case their concentration will be so small in the liquid phase, so that its solubility will not influence the solubility of the other components, or the solubility of the generalization principle, as we said, which will not be influenced by the presence of other solutes, will be applicable. That means, if we take, this is the solubility of component A at a particular temperature and pressure. If we take a mixture of A with air, and so taking mixture A with air, so as long as we define or we plot in terms of the partial pressure of the component A in air, the air will not influence the solubility of component A. If several components are appreciably soluble, component of the mixture are appreciably soluble in the liquid, then this generalization will only applies when the nature of the solute are similar to the solvent. Nature of the solute are similar to the solvent. That means, for ideal solution. For example, if we take a mixture of propane and butane and dissolved in non-volatile paraffin oil, then the solution is ideal. But if we take ammonia and methylamine and dissolve in water, then it is expected that the methylamine can influence the solubility of ammonia in the solutions, because the solution is non-ideal. Now, we will discuss how we can select a solvent for particular absorption operations. So, the solvent can be identified based on the purpose of use. So, if the purpose is to produce specific solution, for example, production of HCl, hydrochloric acid, then solvent is specified by nature of the product. But if the principal purpose is to separate a particular component, to remove certain component from mixture. For example, separation of H2S from natural gas. Then choice of solvent is based on some important characteristics. Choice of solvent is based on some important properties. The first property is the solubility. As we said, the good solvent in which solute is highly soluble. For example, if we take H2S and caustic soda, then H2S is highly soluble in that solvent. But if the purpose of the solvent is to reuse again and recover the absorbed component, then the solvent should be chosen in such a way that the reactions with the solute should be reversible in nature. So, instead of as the reactions of H2S with caustic soda is irreversible in nature, so it is difficult to recover H2S from the solvent and reuse for further processing. So, instead of this, the amines or methanolamine or ethanolamine are used for in which the reaction is reversible in nature. So, we can recover H2S and reuse amine. Another characteristics for the solvent or properties of the solvent should be volatility. The good solvent should be less volatile in nature, so that the solvent loss during the operations should be less. Less volatile means the vapor pressure of the solvent should be less. less vapor pressure or low volatility. Other important properties is the cost. The solvent should be cheaper. For example, water is the cheapest solvent, but depending on the application, the solvent other properties has to be also considered. So, one, we should see the solvent should be cheaper, so that during the operations, even if there is solvent loss, so which will not greatly influence the economy of the process. Solvent loss during operation should not greatly influence the economy of the process. Other important parameters is the corrosiveness. The solvent should be less corrosive. So that we should not use expensive material for the construction of the absorber. Other important parameter is viscosity. So, the viscosity should be low, so that it can easily flow, and it improves the flooding efficiency, and also heat transfer characteristics. And another important point is hazard. And toxicity. The solvent should not be toxic and hazardous in nature, and it should be non-inflammable in nature. So, while selecting a particular solvent, we need to consider these properties when the purpose of separation is to remove certain component from the gas mixture. Now, for gas absorption operations, as we can see, for a particular absorber as shown in this figure, what is the liquid rate or minimum liquid rate we need to use for absorption operations. Let us consider, as we have discussed earlier during module 2, stage wise operations, module 2 and module 3, we have discussed this is the model absorber. If we consider like this, where gas entered at the bottom of the column and exit at the top of the column, liquid enters at the top of the column and exit at the bottom of the column. So, G1, G2 and Gs and G, these are the gas flow rate, and Gs is basically rate of gas flow on solid free basis, and small y, y1 and y2, these are the mole fractions of the solute in the gas phase at respective locations. Capital Y are the mole ratio of the solute in gas phase at respective locations. L1, L2, Ls and L, these are the liquid rates in and out and at different locations. Small x is the mole fractions of the solute in the liquid phase and capital X is the mole ratio. Now, for particular absorption design problem, what are the things which is generally mentioned? One is the gas flow rates. G or Gs, these are mentioned, and the terminal concentrations of the gaseous components. Terminal concentrations like Y2 and Y1, these are mentions, Y1, Y2, and the composition of the entering liquid. Composition of the entering liquid. So, this X2, this is mentioned. So, now our principal purpose is to get Ls and X1. So, these are unknowns. So, these unknowns are Ls and X1. So, this can be obtained if we consider envelope 1, which is the whole conductor or absorber, then we can do the overall material balance, and the overall material balance we can write Gs into Y1 minus Y2 is equal to Ls into X1 minus X2. From these equations we can write Ls by Gs is equal to Y1 minus Y2 divided by X1 minus X2. So, this is the slope of the operating line. Now, we know the terminal points Y2, X2, and we know the slope of the operating line, and we can plot this operating line curve, and which will cut the point Y2, Y1 line, so that we can obtain X1. So, this is the XY diagram. So, there are two types of diagrams can be seen, in which this is the equilibrium line and this is another equilibrium line. So, if we reduce the liquid flow rate Ls, what happens? The operating line BD. So, this is B and D. This, if we reduce the liquid flow rate, the operating line slope will decrease. BD slope will decrease, and reach comes closer to the equilibrium line. So, this is the equilibrium line, and so the operating line, if we reduce the liquid rate, operating line comes closer to the equilibrium line. So, in this case, operating line comes closer to the equilibrium line means the driving force for mass transfer reduced. Driving force for mass transfer reduced. So, what we need, if driving force reduced, we need larger packing height or larger number of plates for a given separation. But how long we can reduce the liquid flow rate? So, we cannot reduce the liquid flow rate indefinitely. So, on further reductions, as we can see at the fixed y2 and x2 locations, the slope of the operating line is further reduced where it touches to the equilibrium line. So, on further reduction, it touches to the operating line touches at point P to the equilibrium line. So, at this point the driving force for mass transfer is 0. Driving force for mass transfer is 0. So, this operating line, the liquid rate corresponding to this operating line is known as the minimum liquid rate. Minimum liquid rate for absorption operation. This is theoretically possible. Now, in another figure we can see, if we further reduce the liquid rate, the operating line crosses the equilibrium line. Operating line crosses the equilibrium line. That means, in one section of the column absorption is taking place and in other section of the column desorption occurs, which is physically impossible. So, a line like BN cannot be a operating line. So, the operating line equation, so eventually this will not be the theoretically minimum liquid rate even if it touches the equilibrium line and crosses the equilibrium line. So, this is not physically possible. So, the slope of the operating line at minimum liquid rate would be equal to Ls min by Gs, which is shown in this line. So, which is not cross the equilibrium line, but touches the equilibrium line at some point. Now, the exit concentration corresponding to this point is X max. This is the maximum possible concentrations of the solute in the liquid phase, and as we said, the driving force at this point is 0. Mass transfer driving force at point P is 0, and this point is known as the pinch point. If it touches the equilibrium line, then how many number of plates or tray we required for a given separation. So, if we start at particular point and if we construct the line graphically, if we do it, we can see as we reach to that pinch point, the number of tray required is infinite. So, at this point, at minimum liquid rate where it touches the equilibrium line, the number of trays required is infinite. So, theoretically, it is not possible to operate an absorber at infinite number of trays. So, we cannot operate the absorber at minimum liquid rate. Now, we will give some closer view of minimum liquid rate for absorptions. Now, if we plot the absorption curve instead of mole ratio, if we plot it mole fraction, so this is exit concentration x1 and this is x2, this is y2, this is y1 and this is the equilibrium line. And this is the operating line. So, if we work on mole fractions, then both the operating line and the equilibrium line are curved in nature. So, to obtain a pinch point in this case is difficult, and we have to work with two different curves instead of a straight operating lines. So, for convenience, we generally use the mole ratio units x y plot instead of mole fractions plot x y curve. Now, if the equilibrium relationship, as we said, it is generally curved line, but if the relation is represented in linear in nature, like y is equal to alpha x, the minimum liquid rate can be determined by algebraically as follows: x max should be y1 by alpha, and if we substitute this in the overall material balance equation, then LS minimum would be GS into y1 minus y2 divided by capital Y1 by alpha minus x2 now. As we said, the absorber cannot operate at minimum liquid rate. So, and there is no general rule for determining the actual liquid rate. In general, the actual liquid rate is equal to LS minimum into 1.222 times. In this connection, we will discuss more detail of the nature of the curve and the equilibrium relationship. Suppose if the equilibrium line follows Henry's law, in that case y is equal to mx, and if m greater than 1, the equilibrium line in xy plane is convex downward. So, the pinch point corresponding to the minimum liquid rate occurs at bottom of the tower. And if m less than 1, then equilibrium curve is convex upward. So, the operating line at minimum liquid rate touches at some intermediate points, touches the equilibrium line at some intermediate points. Now, let us take a very simple example. If we take a gas mixture containing 3% by volume pentane vapor and 97% inert, the mixture is treated with a non-volatile absorption oil in an absorber and 97% removal of the pentane is required. The feed solvent is free from solute. The feed gas rate is 50 kmol per hour. The equilibrium relations is given. Calculate the minimum solvent rate required. So, the given gas rate is 50 kmol per hour and Y1 0.03 mole fraction. Input rate of pentane so 1.5 kmol per hour. Carrier gas inlet is 50 minus 1.5 is equal to 48.5 kmol per hour. Now, 97% solute has to be absorbed. Therefore, 3% leaves with the carrier. So, capital Y1 is Y1 by 1 minus Y1. So, which is 0.03 divided by 1 minus 0.03, which is 0.0309, and Y2 is 0.03 into Y1, which is 0.03 into 309, which is equal to 0.009, and also X2 is 0 free from solute. Now, what are the steps we follow? We plot the equilibrium line and then we locate X2, Y2 and then we draw operating line which touches equilibrium line, and then point of tangency correspond to the minimum liquid rate. Then if we take the xy as the equation is given, so this is the equilibrium data and this is the equilibrium curve, and we know the point at the bottom of the tower, and then we plot with the slope and it touches at this point. So, from this we can calculate LS min by GS, which is around 0.125 from the figure. So, LS minimum will be 0.125 multiplied by 48.5, so which is about 6.06 kmol per hour. So, thank you.